Hello, I hope that you're doing well and thank you for joining in. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my bread recipe. I am very excited to share this with you because this recipe is very simple. You don't need to knead it, you don't need any special bread making flours or bread making machines. So in this video I will show you how I make my bread step by step. Ingredients are very simple and please do take my tips into account and follow it very thoroughly. So here I have all of the ingredients that I will be using today for my bread. So the very first one I want to mention is this spelt wholemeal flour. It's by Dove's Farm and I love Dove's Farm brand, but if you don't have it where you live, try to source organic spelt flour. I usually make my bread with white flour. I really love white flour, but wholemeal is healthier. So this time around we will be trying wholemeal flour. I also love to add seed mix, and this is seed mix by Sainsbury's, and in here we have pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds and golden linen seeds. Not many seeds, but there are many different seed mixes, so you can really improvise. You can also put some olives, it's amazing, or sun-dried tomatoes, anything you like. And I also have instant yeast. I bought this yeast in Windmill when we went to Holland. If you are from Holland, try to find this brand. It really works very well on the bread. And the lady, when I bought this, she said use the whole pack when you're making a bread, but for this recipe we will use just a little bit of it and I'll show you everything step by step. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just take a flour and add 3 cups. I'm just going to add a teaspoon of dried instant yeast. Okay, so this is how much of yeast I will be putting. Most of the recipes online will tell you that just put a pinch of it, but I always put a little bit more. I added the whole packet of seed mix, and that was 100 grams. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to mix it up. The important thing to mention is that try not to use bread flour. If you decide to use bread flour, just have a look at the back of the packet and they should have instructions on how to make bread from that particular flour. But for this recipe we are going to use plain flour. It can be wholemeal, it can be white flour, preferably organic, but make sure that it doesn't have any self-raising properties or anything like that. I'm also adding 1 teaspoon of table salt, and preferably I would use a rock salt or Himalayan salt, but this time around I ran out of salt and I'm just using table salt that I used for my kids' Play-Doh. The next step for this recipe is to use 1.5 cups of water. You do not want to use boiled water on yeast because it will kill this dried yeast and it will not work, it will not bubble up. So yeast needs warm water, but to speed up this recipe we will use a little bit hotter water than warm. So just to give you an idea, if you boiled water for your tea and just about when you are okay to drink it, it's still kind of hottish, it's hotter than warm, but this is the temperature that we are looking for. Okay, so I'm just going to measure 1.5 cups. So when I'm saying 1 cup, just watch your fingers, but fill it up pretty much to the top because that's how you measured your flour. Okay, you didn't fill it up more than half, so you filled it up till the top. So that was 1, and then about a half. Okay, so this is how it looks with water and we're going to mix it. So it's already bubbling up, as you can see. Okay, so this is how dough looks like with the wholemeal flour. It's not as sticky as it would be if I was using the white flour. But you can see the consistency. It's not something that you could knead easily, okay? If you were to put your fingers on it, it will definitely stick. So this is the consistency that we are looking for, okay? You do not want the dough to be something that you can knead. It will have too much of flour. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of water because I want it to be a little tiny bit of more runny. This is the consistency that we are looking for. If you can see, it's very sticky and gooey, and to me it reminds slime. So anyways, this is what you want to achieve. So depending on the type of flour you're using, you can put a little bit more water if needed be, because I feel like wholemeal flour is a little bit drier than white flour. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to take my cling film and cover this dough. Preferably I would like to get a dish that has a plastic cover that creates vacuum, and that's great because you know you can reuse it, but cling film obviously it's not the best. I'm not really a big fan of cling film just because it's really, I feel like it's wasteful. So we want to create the vacuum, make sure that everything is covered. Okay, so I sealed it really well, as you can see, and it's quite warm. So what I'm going to do now, it is 11 o'clock and I'm going to come back to this at about 5 o'clock this evening. I'm leaving it for this many hours just because I simply want to do some other stuff. But if you want your bread quick, then you can wait for 3 hours. Ideally, what you would do is do this in the evening and wake up in the morning and then do your bread. That's what I usually do. Okay, so whenever it's convenient for you, but the shortest amount of time that you need to wait is 3 hours. And I have my dough here and it's really nicely bubbled up, so let me just open it and show it to you. So this is how my dough looks like now. You can see it's still very gooey and it doesn't look like a bread dough, but that's how it's supposed to look like. The next thing that I want to show you is my casserole dish. That's where I'm going to make bread. So I'm going to put this in an oven, and I will switch on the heating on the oven for both top and bottom, and I will put it on maximum or nearly to 380 degrees just to heat up an empty dish. I have my dough here, and what I'm going to do, I'll just put it carefully on the surface like this. Okay, and this will be a little bit messy, but hey, it's okay. What you want to do is just cover it with the flour, and if you need a little bit more flour, just sprinkle more on top. Okay, lovely, lovely, nice and soft. It's so amazing to have your own homemade bread. I feel so good about it. And I encourage you to try it. It's really so simple. I'm just going to let this sit here, and I'm going to put my casserole dish to heat up, and once it's heated up in about 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to just transfer this inside the casserole dish. So I've just taken the hot dish out, and I have put the bread with the paper. I'm just going to put it down carefully not to burn my fingers. And I will put the lid on, and what this is going to do, it's going to steam the bread like in the professional oven, and this goes to the oven and stay there for about 30 minutes on 380 degrees. I'm so excited. It is like opening the Kinder Surprise, I guess, for kids. Wow! Look at that! It's so pretty! Amazing! Wow! Look at this! So beautiful! So what you want to do now is need to take out the paper and then bake this for another 30 minutes or 15 to 30 minutes, I would say, depending on how hard you want the crust to be and you don't want to burn it. Okay, so let me just take the paper off. This is going to go back to the oven, and what I'm going to do, I will reduce the heat, so I'm no longer keeping it on 380. I'm going to keep it for on about 220 and bake it for another 15 to 20 minutes. I will be keeping an eye on it. And as you can see, I am keeping it a little bit lower away from the top so the top doesn't burn. And I'll reduce the heat. Okay, so it's time to take it out of the oven. Let's have a look. Wow, look at this. Beautiful. It looks like a bakery bread. This is it. This is our lovely bread, wholemeal and with mix of seeds. So let's take a little bite. Wow, look at this. It's still steaming hot, but it looks lovely. It's beautiful. It doesn't puff up as much as the white bread, but wholemeal bread just looks lovely. I can't wait to try it. And look at this. Look at this. How beautiful is that? Wonderful. I hope you enjoy it, and do let me know how your bread turned out to be. Bye bye for now.